Welcome back to this course. This is the second module, and in this module, we are going to be looking at mastery of Google tools. And the first tool we'll be looking at will be Google Drive. So, what is Google Drive, and what should you know as a VA? Google Drive is quite a popular tool, and a lot of people use it for a lot of things. But as a virtual assistant, I'm going to be showing you features you need to know. Okay, so what is the objective of this lesson? Well, the objective of this lesson, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to organize files effectively, manage sharing permissions, use shared drives, convert files into Google formats, and understand how Google Drive can be used as a cloud storage and syncing solution in your desktop. How can you use it in your desktop as a backup or cloud storage? Okay, so there are practical exercises we are going to be looking at the end of this lesson. You should be able to create a folder structure for a fictional client, and then that will help you with real life projects. Okay, you should be able to upload a Word document and also convert it to Google Docs, and then you should be able to upload an Excel file and convert it to Google Sheets. You should be able to share a folder using the viewer, commenter, and editor permissions. And also, you should be able to install Google Drive for your desktop and explore how file syncing works. How can you actually use Google Drive as one of your storage devices on your desktop? Okay, so like I said, Google Drive is Google's cloud storage platform. We use it to store, organize, access, and also very importantly, share files online. Very importantly, we use it to share files online. Okay, so you can access it from any device. That's the importance of cloud storage, whether on your phone or you have different computers. You can access it from any device with internet access. Okay, so why do virtual assistants actually use Google Drive? For clients file management, a lot of your clients are going to use Google Drive because they offer free access. They have a free tier that actually has a lot of helpful features, unlike some other competitions that you actually have to pay for almost everything. And then team collaboration. So when you're using Google Drive, it's easy for you to share whatever you're working on with other members of the team or even your employer. Okay, and then file sharing, like I said, cloud backup, and document storage. So let's look at file organization and why it matters. So it is important to actually organize your files because let's say you're working with a client for maybe 6 months, a year, or 2 years. You want to be able to, organize your files so that it is easy to sort and get files or documents easily whenever. So you can be in 2026 and you want to sort a file from 2024. If you do not organize well, that's going to be very, very quite difficult. So like these are the importance: improves productivity, makes files easier to find, creates a professional workflow, and reduces confusion when working with clients. This is quite very, very important. This is very important, although a lot of people do not follow the best practices. So the best practices, you should take note of these four things. You want to organize, files into folders efficiently. You want to use clear file names. I'm going to suggest some file naming conventions here. And then you want to keep folders uncluttered. Okay, you want to keep, you want to have relevant folders. You do not want plenty folders or too less of folders. So you want to keep things together. You want to archive old files. When necessary, delete unwanted files or unwanted folders. Okay, so what are the file naming conventions? These are just suggestions, but the point here is that you should understand the relevance of actually naming your files properly so it's easy for you to find them when you need them. So there are some conventions. For example, if it's a content calendar, you can name it with respect to the month. So content calendar for June 2026. Okay, you can name weekly reports week 1, client onboarding checklist, and then you can now name the folders. Oh, weekly report folder content calendar folder, brand guidelines, depending on the brand you are working with. Okay, so let's say this is an example client who deals with things that probably would have contracts, content, marketing. So you can create your folders this way and actually name them. So this is how the folder structure would be. Let's say you are working with 3 clients. So this would be the first folder structure would be the client name, and then you go ahead inside that folder to now create subfolders for maybe contract, content, marketing reports, assets, meeting notes for that particular client. So you'd have something similar for another client. We are going to see this in real life. Okay, so you can group similar files together and then also avoid creating unnecessary folders and maintain consistency across projects. So this is the point we are actually going to go into it practical and see what this actually looks like. So how do you actually access Google Drive? There are a few ways you can do that. You can just open your Chrome and then type Google Drive for desktop, or just type Google Drive. Rather, if you type Google Drive, you should be able to come up. Or you can, an easier way to do that is once you are in your browser like this, you can click on this icon here at the top right corner and then scroll. You see a lot of tools. You can just come to Drive and then select Drive. And then another way you can do this, if you are using your phone, you can go to your Play Store, App Store if you are using iOS, and then search Google Drive. You can download the app to your phone. Most Android phones are actually going to come with the Drive pre-installed. Okay, so let's type Google Drive. Okay, so if you type Google Drive or Google Drive for desktop or whatsoever, you should be able to get to this point. So I actually prefer coming to this icon and accessing Google Drive for here. Why? The reason being that since already I'm signed into this browser, and this is a Google this is a Google software. The Chrome browser is a Google tool. It's simple for you to just have access to Drive without having to sign in again. So once you click sign in with your Google account, you are going to have this interface open up. So this is your home page. So I'm going to run briefly around the interface and the things you are seeing here and what they are used for. So this is like an overview. So this is your home browser. This is your home page actually, and then this is where you access drives that only you own them, you created them. Okay, you see all of them here. And then computers, this is where you have maybe your desktop being synced to Google Drive. I'm going to show you that at the end of this course. And then if you go to shared with me, you are going to see drives that were shared from other individuals with you. This is where you see them. And then recent drives you've opened. If you've started any drive, you are going to see them here. If there are spams, you are going to see them here. And trash, so if you delete if you move things to trash, they are going to stay for about 30 days and then they'll be deleted. Okay, you can always also come to trash and delete something if you just want to get rid of it entirely without leaving it in trash. So let's go back to home and let's create a folder. So how do we create a folder? You can just come here and click on new. Okay, before I actually go to creating a folder, let me show you some important things when you're actually searching for folders. So if you've worked for a while on projects, you might want to search folders in Drive by typing the name. And so I have a drive named clinicals for my school textbooks. I can click on that and then it's going to search and bring up files and documents or even the folder itself. So you can, these are all filters you can use to actually go down, specifically to what you're actually looking for. You can choose your type of search results, whether it's documents. So if I click on document, you see that only documents appear. You can choose on people. Here, the people you've actually collaborated with, their emails are going to show. So you can choose and then it's going to show the documents which they collaborated with you. You can choose specifically if it is documents they collaborated as they owned, or they were creators, they were, it was shared by them, or someone shared it between you and them. So that's for the shared with. Okay. The duration, the number of days before now, that when last it was modified, the number of days before the current day. And then the source, was it from Gmail, was it from Meet? These are all filters, and they can actually help you find your folders, your documents, your files easily. Okay, so having looked at that, here we can see ready for offline. This can help you when you do not have network to work on your Google Drive online, but it has limitations. Okay, and then you can get access to support. You can message them if you have problems, and here we have settings where you can restore file versions and sync files between cloud and your computer. And this is Google Gemini. So if you actually have a pro version of the Google account, if you actually paid for have a pro subscription, you can actually use Gemini inside your Google Cloud, your Google Drive rather, and then other Google apps. Okay, so let's create a folder. I'm going to create a folder, so you can either create a lot of different files, but for now we are just going to create a folder, and then I'm going to name it sample folder for ABC agency. Okay, so this is for ABC agency. We can have another client, DF agency. I believe you get the point. So you see this folder here, amongst other folders. So let's go into the folder. Let's see how we can actually share this folder. Let's share this folder, but let's see the file organization. Okay, so we've opened the folder. So let's say we want to create folders for contracts. I'll right click, and then I'll right click new folder. So this is inside the parent folder. I'm also going to create folders for content, and then maybe content calendar. Okay, sorry, spelling there. Okay, content calendar, and we can create as many folders as we need to create. Okay, so this is the folder structure. So let's see, for the content calendar, let's say maybe we have we can create documents, right? Maybe a Google Doc, maybe for June, for let's create a document. So what happens is that this takes us to Google Doc. We are going to rename this document. We in the next lesson we are going to look at Google Doc in detail, but however, I'm just going to rename this document to, let's say, May 2026 contents. This is going to save, and then if we go back to our drive, and actually refresh this drive, you'll see that this document is going to appear under this folder. Okay, so you can see it here, May 2026. The tips I gave are, if you have multiple subfolders inside the parent folder, or documents, you want to group your files, similar files, you want to group them together, and probably they be in the same folder. So that's the importance of folder structure. Okay, so I would have loved to okay, so another way we can actually share a folder, apart from sharing it from the home page, is that we can share a folder from this bar here, this address bar here. We can right click on any of the folders and then click on share. Okay, so this interface is going to open. You can see so right now, the people with access, I'm the only person that has access to this, and general access is restricted. So let's look at what we can actually do. I'm going to give one of my previous collaborators access to this sample folder. So that person is going to be Uchenna Marianne. I'm going to give her access, and in this box I can define what kind of access I want to give to her. So I can make her a viewer, a commenter, or an editor. So what's the difference? A viewer can only view your the content of this folder or the content of your file if it's actually a document like Google Docs or your sheets. Okay, so a viewer can only view. However, a viewer also has ability to download download files, except you remove that restriction. I'm going to show you how. Then a commenter can actually go through your document or your drive content and make comments. Okay, and then an editor can actually organize, add and edit files, or also edit other people's permissions. So an editor can give access to other people. Now when you come here, if I actually give this person access, I can write a message that will be sent to their mail. So that would be like a description, maybe so that they would know it's coming from their virtual assistant, or something. I can just write that, and then I can chat with support if I have issues. So the most important thing here is settings, right? So for this folder, these are the limitations you can actually add to your sharing. Okay, so you can allow editors to change permissions and share, or you can remove that. So that means editors can now only edit the content of the folder. They will not be able to change permissions of other individuals that have shared this folder with, or you can allow that. So probably for your employer, you want to actually allow this. Then you can limit access to content. So people may lose access, only the owner and people added directly to this folder can open it. Its name and icon will still be visible in its parent folder. So what this actually means is that if you gave someone access, someone who had access maybe as a viewer, they may lose access if you toggle this on. Okay, so it's only the owner and then people that you now directly. So this is what it actually means. There are two ways to actually share your drive folders. You can either share them as links, or you can directly get emails just like what I did, and then add the emails to give them access. So if you actually share a link to someone and then the person is a viewer, for example, and you share it through link, once they finish accessing this folder, if you toggle this on, what happens is that they do not have access again. So it is only people you now directly add their emails to this file that would have access to this folder. So that's what this setting does. That's basically for sharing folders on Google Drive. So there's a lot more to sharing and permissions on actual documents like Google Docs, Google Sheets and slides. And we are going to look at them when we are treating them in their specific lessons. So the next lesson is going to be Google Docs. Okay, so what are the best practices when you are sharing access, when you are giving access to folders or to drives? Okay, so you must understand who you are sharing to and what permission you should give them. Probably you want to give your employer the editor access if they are going to be making edits. You could be working in a team that you have other members of the team, and then you have their email. You want to give them maybe the commenter access depending on the relevance of the team, or if they're just going to have to view probably without making changes or comments, you can just give them viewer. So if you're also sharing, probably you did something, you worked on a design and you want to share it with a friend, you want to give them access to actually see what you did on the drive. So remember, confidentiality is very, very key as a virtual assistant when you are working with clients. So probably you just have a friend who is good with designs or with videos, and then you just made a video, or you just made a design. You want them to have access. What would be the right access? So the right access would actually be a viewer. And then if it's a document, you can further add security limitations and do not allow them, stop them from downloading your files. Okay, so that's quite possible. Okay, so let's look at your responsibilities as a virtual assistant. What would you be doing? Your client might actually create a folder, share it to you. You see it under the shared folder, shared with me, items shared with me. You might see the folders, you search them, and then you might have to organize the folders. You might need to request the request access. So basically what happens is that if a drive is created and then the link is sent to you and you do not have access, once you click on that link, automatically a page will come up for you to request access. That is how you actually request access. And then once they give you access, it will depend on the kind of permissions they allow for you. You can manage documents, maintain structure, and then work with your clients.